So, what I'd like to do first is introduce our panelists, and then after that, take just a brief minute to set this discussion to talk briefly about some of the problems with media planning. And then ask each panelist one question apiece. Would you please hold your questions until everyone has had his opportunity to address a question? And then let's open up the discussion and have you jump in, ask follow-up questions, ask questions about something totally unrelated to what we're talking about, whatever. And then we'll just take it from there. So let me begin with the introductions. Let me start with Jody Bell, who is our expert on newspaper. Jody is currently the Vice President of Revenue Development with the Augusta Chronicle. This is not the first position she's had in the Chronicle. In her current position, she oversees a staff of 50+ sales and support, which I think is phenomenal. She has years and years of experience in the newspaper business before she came to Augusta. She had a variety of positions with the Columbus Ledger. And I'm guessing because Columbus is a town similar to Augusta, the Ledger is probably similar to the Chronicle. So she'd be a great resource for that. And then we have, I've got my notes out there. I have never met these people. Patrick is the know-it-all, do-it-all for Howard Serve, which is a web design company. He blogs, he designs, he meets with clients, he manages clients, he manages his colleagues at the office. His bio says, and I quote, he is the second son of Mr. Rogers, and that he loves communicating with Howard Serve's social media neighborhood. Get it? Or are you too young to get it? I thought it was Paul Brewer. Paul is the senior member of the panel. He has been in television. I'll just wait. He's been in television longer than most of you are old. So he's truly an expert on television. He has started television stations from the ground up, taking them on air. He's currently the national and general sales manager for WFXG, which is the Fox affiliate. He's had lots and lots of other positions associated with television, so he will be our resource on television. To my right is Stuart Rayburn, Mr. Billboard himself. Stuart has been in the billboard business over 10 years, that's right, and currently owns Billboard Guru, which helps local media buyers make the most effective and efficient use of billboards in their media plans. He can also help local clients buy boards in out-of-town markets as well. And then, to his right is Daniel Stewart, who is the principal and studio director at Warehouse, which is, of course, as you know, a creative firm based on Broad Street. But just because he graduated from Georgia with a degree in graphic design doesn't mean he spends his days drawing sketches of bulldogs. He has a very varied account that includes health businesses, construction businesses, professionals, you name it. Plus he has a really remarkable account of pro bono businesses that he also, or nonprofits that he also has. And then last but not least is Neil Gordon. Well, Neil is theoretically here today to represent radio. He also has a presence on television in the form of a daily business segment on News 12, and he publishes a monthly local business news publication, Buzz on Biz. So that means he has a broad experience in a variety of media. His background should obviously enhance the discussion. I forgot to mention when I was introducing Paul that in the spirit of full disclosure, he is my spouse, but he gets no special treatment here. But anyway, at any rate, and now for the rest of us. If you come here today hoping you might find simple or at least simpler answers to your advertising problems and questions, you might leave disappointed Because frankly, creating a media plan has never been more difficult. It's harder for a couple of reasons. First, a lot of us are no longer sure who we should be talking to or who we are talking to. Plus, the fact is, the day of the Cleaver family is over. May they rest in peace. Instead of the stereotypical family with two parents of the opposite sex, with 2 children and a dog, we now have multi-ethnic families, blended families, single-sex families, no families. It's amazing how many people are choosing either not to get married or to delay having children if they have them at all. So throw into that mix the knowledge that in the very near future, a hefty percentage of all families will not speak English at home. And so who do you talk to and how? It's a mystery to me. Add to that the reality that the media are frankly fragmented now more than ever, and the task of creating a media plan is frankly daunting. With that in mind, I plan to ask our panelists questions about their particular media and how each fits into a media plan. I'm saving the hardest for last and will ask Daniel to put it all together and explain how he advises his clients when it's time to start the planning process. So, thank you all for being here today. Why don't we start the questions? Let me start with Neil. Neil, how does radio fit in a media plan?
Well, I guess my experience over the last several years is it has to do, Barbara, a lot with what time of year it is and what events you have or what market that you're going for. For instance, this time of year, it's hot, people are out of the houses, maybe not watching as much television and simply in their cars traveling and tuning into the radio. So sometimes it's seasonal, and I think this is a good time of the year to enjoy radio. I also think radio is still an excellent way to be event-driven. I mean, I don't know if anyone's gone to Day in the Country or some of the other country events, but radio stations do ticket stubs. And there's known to be 500 or 600 people at a local florist that is giving away an opportunity to win tickets. So I think event-driven, it's very good. And then the other part, which maybe my news background, I think there's an opportunity sometimes to leverage the other side, not the paid side of radio, but the coffee break show with Harley and Mary Liz or Austin or some of the other local stations. Tony Powers has a radio station as well, and they're local talk show hosts that are looking to fill content and doesn't cost you any money. It's a good way to kind of get the word out.
It's a good thing to remember. Again, if you have questions that you'd like to ask Neil, you'll save them until everyone has gone through his or her question. Jody, tell us, who's reading the paper these days and how?
Thank you. I get asked that a lot. There's a lot of press right now about newspapers, newspaper readership, and we at the Augusta Chronicle, as you guys, most of you know, have been in business now more than 225 years, and I think we'll be in business for many, many years to come. We do get a lot of press about readership and who's reading the paper now, and I'm still very bullish about our industry. People want local news and information in lots of different formats. We do realize that people want it in different ways than they may have 20 or 30 years ago. But every day we're still delivering that newspaper to doorsteps and to racks. On Sunday we're still delivering our newspaper to more than 75,000 households in the area. And think about your household. Maybe it's you and a spouse, or you and your mom. More than one person is reading that newspaper across America, including Augusta. And in McDonald's, more than one person is reading that newspaper to pass along copies. So there's still a significant number of people that are reading newspapers. The latest numbers across the industry still say that newspapers alone are read by more than 65% of the American population. And it's not just old, educated men that are reading newspapers. You know, it's not just one demographic. You would be surprised if you really dig down into the numbers. And most markets can be similar, that 18 to 34-year-olds, for example, would say that in the last week, 52% of revenue. Now, when you go to the right of Prism and you get to 55 and older, the number does go up to 76%. That 18 to 35 demographic that typically newspapers get a bad rap on, that print product or the core product is still reaching those households. Now add to that the proliferation of online media. Most newspapers have invested heavily in making sure that they're delivering that information, not just in print, which is our core. Most newspapers would still say it's 80% of their revenue, but digital is growing swiftly. We now deliver, we actually refer to the desktop as the legacy online product. Who thought that we would have thought of digital in the old dinosaur newspaper business, right, as the legacy product? So we say the desktop is legacy. We now have iPad applications, we have iPhone applications, we have mobile applications, and are getting hundreds of thousands of page views, reading news and information from the Augusta Chronicle on those devices. And it's the same in newspapers across the country, I'm sure. So, you know, when you think about print and online together, which is what I think of as a newspaper nowadays, it is still, it gets an amazing footprint, whether it's a daily, a weekly, a freely distributed newspaper, a text message with a text alert, a iPad application, or a smartphone that just goes to mobileaugustachronicle.com. We don't think of ourselves as a print product one-dimensional anymore. So.
Paul, admit it, television is the most fragmented medium of all. So how do you advise clients how to select from among the major networks and then all the hundreds of alternative channels that are available on cable?
Actually, the fragmentation of television is a common misconception. Television itself is not fragmented. Television in the form of broadcast television, for instance, I put a bunch of information on the table out there. If you want to grab your packet, there's a lot of info, and I don't want to take up a whole lot of time here, so most of the stuff you're going to need to read afterwards. But if you look at your first page here, this is from the week ending May 15th. Prime time and of the top 100 programs viewed on television, you'll see that 94 of those were from the broadcast networks. That leaves, of course, 6 of them being from the cable universe. And the top rated cable program of the week was an NBA playoff game, which ranked 39th. The second highest cable program was also an NBA playoff game, and it was 58th. So again, I'm not going to go through all of this. I want you to read it yourself, but let's kind of walk through here because there's a whole lot of misconceptions about the medium. One is that television viewing is shrinking. If you look at this chart, which is your next one in your packet, you'll see that actually viewing to television is growing, not shrinking, as it is for the internet. And this is a comparison from 2008 to 2010. The only one on here that doesn't have a comparison is mobile because they didn't measure that in 2008. But it's up to 19 minutes. So time spent with television, it is still growing, it's not shrinking. The next common misconception, zipping right through here, is that DVR and TiVo has really affected television viewing. Your next sheet, which says on the top, the Duke study, this is Duke University, who studied DVR usage in households, and this pretty much spells it. I'm not going to read all this stuff to you, but please take it and read it. The simple fact is that in most cases, and by the way, the next one about most TV viewers is the same thing. Most TV households that have DVRs, usually they use the DVR to take their second choice. 95% of television viewing is still done live. So there is no opportunity for them to fast forward through commercials in 95% of the viewing that is taking place. The other 5%, yes, it is DVR, but there are ways of producing creative that can kind of offset those fast forward households somewhat. So DVR usage is really not a big factor. The next misconception, internet to replace